One thing I was doing while I was walking across America, the main thing I was doing was listening to people. Doing everything I could to set myself aside in order to show up to the people I got to meet. And what I eventually learned was that my ability to listen, which grew the longer I walked and the more I listened, and my willingness to do so was a profound offering. You know, when I started, I was like, what do I have to give people? All I'm doing is just taking from them, you know, taking their stories, taking their hospitality. But eventually I saw that with the way I was able to really see these people deeply as worthy of my time, worthy of my attention, I saw the ways in which that was a gift for people. And so you all, know it or not, are offering me that gift today. Thank you. So yeah, the short story, you'll get to read the long story. Again, I think you have to. But I can tell you the short story today. I graduated from college. I was 23 years old, and I had supposedly come of age. You know, by most accounts, I was a man. I was an adult. But when I left my little college campus, I had all these questions about what that actually meant. You know, I had read about it, philosophy and literature, and we had classroom discussions about what it means to be human, be alive, be an adult. But when I left campus, I was like, okay, yeah, and what now? Who am I actually? And who are we actually? Boots on the ground. I wanted to know who I was when I was far away from anything I knew, far away from everyone I loved. Who was I in that place? And who were we? Who are we? You know, not what the newspapers are telling me we are, not what you're telling me you are on Facebook or Twitter. No, I want to know who you are face to face, heart to heart, right here. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I was terrified. I was terrified that people would see me and ignore me. No one would stop to say hello, or they would distrust me. So I decided to wear a sign that said, "Walking to Listen," and that was going to be the invitation for people. And I packed up my backpack, and I walked out my mom's back door outside Philadelphia onto these train tracks, where, you know, once or twice a day, a very slow-moving train will trundle by. Don't walk on the train tracks, is what I'm saying. And I just started, I said goodbye to my mom, and I was feeling so excited and relieved that I was committing to this question, the question of who am I and who are we, and I was throwing myself into it, into a full immersion, a full-on confrontation with this question. No distractions. I was going to slow down right into it. But I was also terrified, because I didn't know if I was going to come home. There was a chance that I would die. You know, this was for real. And so my mom shouted to me as I was leaving, "Lift up your arms." And that's the image you see on the cover of this book. She took a picture. And what it looks like, you'll see eventually. I'm like walking into the distance, and I'm like, you know, it looks like this. Which, from behind, looks like this triumphant machismo, like, woo! When in fact, I'm sobbing in that moment. It's like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? I don't know. Crying, tears spilling down my face, crying like a man. Crying like a man. And about a mile into the walk, this car pulls over on the road. And this man gets out, and he starts walking through the trees to get to the train tracks where I'm walking. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this might be it. This might be the guy I'm looking for. Maybe he's going to have the answer to all my questions, and I won't have to walk across America. Please, may it be so. And who comes up but Bob, my mom's landlord. And I'm thinking, Bob? Is it you? Are you the one I've been waiting for? Are you my guru, Bob? Are you my teacher? Of course he was. Everyone was. And I said, Bob, what a coincidence. And he goes, you gotta keep in mind, Bob is an ex-cop, okay? He used to work in Philadelphia on the streets there, so he's seen some stuff. And he always had this sort of solemn look on his face. And so I said, Bob, what a coincidence. And he goes, it's not a coincidence. Your mom's a wreck back at the house. You don't have to do this. And on the one hand, he was right, you know. I didn't have to do this big epic thing in order to be worthy. I already was. The moment I was born was the moment I became worthy of existing. I already belonged. There was nothing I had to do to prove myself. And that goes for you all too. But on the other hand, he was wrong. Because each of us has to have a lived experience of the truth of what I just said. We all have to find out for ourselves the ways in which we belong beyond any shadow of a doubt. And this was my way of doing that. Each of us has a different walk to walk, and this was my walk. It just so happened that my walk was a literal, actual walk. A long one, too. My mom said the morning I left, she said, I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you. But she's an incredible woman. I want to give honor to my mother right here. She was there for me the whole way, and from the very beginning wasn't trying to manipulate me out of doing this thing that had to be done. She was ready to let me go. And so I said, Bob, thank you for being here. And I do have to do this. And I am going to. And he said, well, it can be 4 months or it can be 4 hours. I said, okay, thank you, Bob. This is not exactly the pep talk I'm needing in this moment, Bob. You should have seen me a mile ago. I was sobbing. Come on, Bob. He goes, you got a knife? I said, what? Yeah. He goes, here's another one. A huge knife. And then he says, don't trust anybody. I said, Bob, that's kind of the whole point. I'm setting off to go listen to people. And how can I expect them to entrust me with their truth, their stories, their heart, their breakable, vulnerable, fallible heart? How can I expect them to trust me with that if I'm not going to trust them? Someone's got to take the first step. Who's going to do it? I want to try to do it. So I have to trust in people. Which is scary, because there's no guarantee that I'm not going to get hurt. That could happen. But I had gotten to a point in my life where it already hurt. It hurt too much to not at least make the attempt to put myself out there and connect. Because the absence of deep connection in the suburbs that I was living in, and even on the college campus that I went to school on, the absence of deep, rich connection founded on vulnerability, founded on that state of being that is beyond philosophy, beyond a classroom discussion about, what did Socrates think of this? What do you think of this? How do you feel about this? What is your lived experience of these things? So I was experiencing an absence of that kind of connection, human connection, and that was more painful than the possibility of being hurt in attempting to create those connections. So this was my walk. My walk was that attempt. So I said, thank you, Bob. And kept walking. 5 miles later, I'm coming on the outskirts of town, and I see 4 men up ahead on the train tracks. And now I'm far enough away from home to feel afraid. Because I don't know who these men are. I don't know what they're going to do to me. What are they going to do to me? Don't trust anybody. I'm getting closer to them. And I'm in this sort of industrial district, and there's some forests, and no one can hear me screaming, if it comes to that. And so I'm approaching them, and what's going to happen. And you got to keep in mind, I'm wearing this big backpack with a sign that says "Walking to Listen," and an American flag on one side and an Earth flag on the other side. And I was wearing a cowboy hat for some reason. Not a cowboy. I just figured if you walk across America, this is what you do. I looked ridiculous. And I come upon these guys, and they look at me, and I look at them and they're 4 Latino men, probably homeless, although I'm not sure. And they asked me, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm walking across America," which to me sounded ridiculous because I had been walking for 2 hours at that point. Am I even allowed to say that? But they didn't know that, So I was walking across America, listening to people's stories, and here I am. Here you are. What do you got? I'm here for you, And the one guy says something to the other guy in Spanish, and it didn't seem like they got it, And I'm thinking maybe it's time to run away, or stumble away with my big backpack, And this guy reaches into a plastic bin at his side, and he pulls out a package of cookies and some apple juice boxes. He says, "Come on, come sit with us." So I sit with them on some railroad ties, and we just start talking and telling. I start listening. I asked the question. I had this sincere intention to connect and listen, and I was willing to put myself out there and pay the price of discomfort and awkwardness, and I don't know what's going to happen. And then here came the fruit of that. And they were just telling me stories, and I had a mandolin with me, and I played a song on the mandolin, and Martina started passing around some vodka. And I'm thinking, what world am I living in? Where am I? I'm 6 or 7 miles away from my mom's house, which is in the suburbs, where I don't even know my neighbors. And here I am in this complete other world. It was the beginning of realizing what's possible, of what the world can be with that simple intention to listen with sincerity and humility. The sincerity which says, I am really interested in what you have to say, and I'm not here to persuade you about anything or convert you to anything or change you in any way. I'm sincere. I just want to know who you are. And then the humility that says, I don't know the whole picture. No one does. And in order for me to understand the fullness of reality, I have to listen to you, to hear about how you're experiencing this thing. And your experience is going to inform mine. And I need you. I need you to help me understand. That's the humility. And seeing what's possible with that sincerity and that humility and then that listening, a whole other world. Right here. Right beside you. So, we're sitting there having a good time. And all of a sudden it started raining. Pouring. And 3 of them rush off into the woods. And I'm sitting there with Martine, standing there. And I'm about to leave. And he goes, come on, we'll take you to our home. We'll get you out of the rain. And I'm hearing in my head this voice, don't trust anybody. And I'm also feeling how just crappy it feels to be wet and to not know where I'm going to sleep at night. And then I'm thinking, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. And so I said, okay, And I followed him off the tracks into this field and then through the woods. And we came out into this clearing behind a strip mall that I had been to many times before. For lunch, there's a Capriati's sub shop, on the other side. And I had never known that there was this whole other reality right behind the facade of the building. Right behind there, just feet away. I never would have known had I not humbled myself and started listening. So they let me in on this secret, They had a camp. Each one of them had their own little huts. And made of wood pallets and blue tarps. And Martin took me into his home. And we just continued. We continued. I had nothing else to do, nowhere else to be. My job was to listen. And I began to receive treasure. The treasure that this man had to offer. And eventually it stopped raining, and I got my backpack back on and went outside, and he gave me this hot pepper that he himself had grown, and it set my tongue on fire, And then he gave me this cactus fruit that he himself had grown, and it sort of put the fire out again. And I said, goodbye. And I felt something like love. I know it sounds weird, but I felt something like love for this man. He had taken me in out of the rain. When I was in need, he showed up to me. This man who had hardly anything to his name. He had told me about his family. He gave me cookies, apple juice, vodka. I felt gratitude for this man. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave, but I had to. I was on this walk. And he said, goodbye, God bless you, and be careful. Always sleep with a knife by your side. And I said, I think you and Bob would really enjoy each other. You might not think it at first. Give it a second, I think you might. So that was hour 2 of what became a year-long walk across America. I didn't know how long I would be gone when I first left. I wasn't sure it would be a walk across America. I wanted to be open to the possibility that maybe this walk would end after just a single week. Maybe after a week I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't want to see that as a failure if that happened. So when I left, I wasn't sure how long it would be. And what I ended up doing was I had basic camping gear, and I had a change of clothes, and I kept a little food bag in my backpack. I had a tent, had the mandolin, and I had some money. I had a budget of $4,000 or so from working on a lobster boat the summer before. And I decided I would walk until either I ran out of money or until I got to some as yet unknown moment of epiphany where I realized, oh my God, I got it, I'm done. Sort of like Forrest Gump, I think I'm good. I'm turning around now. If that happened, okay, maybe that's where I would end. Or the Pacific Ocean, whichever one came first. And I would go from town to town. I was on the highways the whole time. I didn't want to walk on the trails because I felt that the people who I'd meet on the trails might be a little self-selecting. I wanted to meet as diverse a cross-section of Americans as possible, as many different kinds as possible. So I said, I'm going to do it on the highways. So I was walking on the highways. And I would try to get to a town at the end of each day. And I would need a place to camp out. I would need a place to rest my head. And so I would try to find a gas station or a fire station or a church or a bar or a general store or whatever happened to be there at the end. And I would ask for permission to camp out. And often that would lead to some kind of connection and conversation. And if I couldn't find a place like that, sometimes I would knock on a door. Can you imagine? 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night rolls around, and all of a sudden, you hear someone knocking on your door. You open the door, and there's this guy with a cowboy hat on and a big backpack. He goes, hey, I'm walking across America listening to people's stories. Can I camp out on your yard? It's like an endangered experience in today's world. Stuff like that doesn't happen that much anymore. The troubadour walking through town, the pilgrim walking through town. And I found that Americans were hungry in the same way that I was for that kind of experience. To connect with a complete stranger, face to face, in the living room, on the front yard, you know. And each day was different. Each day was a new story. How are we doing on time? Is it time for that? Cool. 3 or 4 more minutes and then some questions. I'll see if I can squeeze the story into 4 minutes. Probably not. You might be late for class. You're welcome. I was walking into New Orleans, you know, and people had warned me about walking through New Orleans. They said, don't do it. And the people that are going to shoot you for the shirt off your back. You know, very dangerous. Don't do it. Don't walk through New Orleans. So I knew exactly where I was going to walk. New Orleans. Let's find out. Let's find out for real. I didn't want to be stupid. I didn't want to be arrogant about I can walk anywhere. But I did want to know the truth about a place, not someone's assumptions about the place. And so I was walking into town and the sun was setting and it was the outskirts of town and I was trying to get to this fire station a mile ahead. And I heard from behind me this big gruff male voice go, "Hey!" We're just going to pretend I didn't hear that. Maybe, you know, maybe this is the guy everyone's been warning me about. So I just keep walking, and then he goes, "Hey you, walker!" There's probably only one walker. He's probably talking about me. And it's probably more dangerous if I ignore him. So I turned around, crossed the road, and he was this middle-aged white guy standing on his porch on like a hill above the road, sort of glowering down at me. This like white tank top on, crazy blonde hair. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm Andrew. I'm walking across America, listening to people's stories, trying to stay connected to that sincerity. You know, like, no BS here, man. This is really what I'm doing. I'm here to listen. I'm here to connect. Are you interested? Is basically what I was saying. Are you interested? Listening to people's stories. I started in Philadelphia. I'm heading west, maybe as far as California. Philadelphia? Huh. So you're a damn Yankee. Okay. I guess so. Who the heck invited you down here? You didn't say heck. That's neutral ground you're standing on right now, but as soon as you come onto my lawn, that's my territory. So, okay, all right. And in this moment, I tried again to stay connected to him. So I have no interest in throwing the malice back at this guy. Stay connected to you. No problem, man. I'm not interested in causing any problems. And if you're not interested in what I have to offer, then I'll get going. So I turned around, started walking away, without weaponizing my language against him in even the slightest bit. And he felt that. Because he said, "Hey, wait!" I turned around. He goes, do you like beer?" I said, "Yeah, I guess." He goes, "Do you want one?" I said, "Okay, sure." Went up to his porch. He made me leave my backpack outside because he was afraid I might pull a gun on him. We went into his house, and in that moment everything changed because now he was vulnerable too. I was in this man's house. And he wasn't just some crazy man yelling at me from the side of the road. He was also a man who was living alone with his cat. He had cat toys lying all over the place. We sat down at his table. He brought some drinks. And he just started talking as if he'd been waiting to do so for years. Because maybe he had been waiting for a listener. And he was telling all kinds of nasty stories, filled with violence and racism and opinions that I found reprehensible. And I was struggling to just listen to that too. And then he said, he was telling some story, he said, you know, such and such and so and so. And I was really pissed off that day because I had to bury my son and so on and so forth. He just dropped that little detail in, almost as if it didn't matter. And he was opening a window into his heart. into his broken, devastated heart. And it didn't justify any of his violence or meanness, but it made it impossible for me to hate him. And that's what listening makes possible. For the one who is practicing the discipline of listening, hatred becomes impossible. Which isn't to say I wasn't upset by much of what this guy had shared. I was. But I didn't hate him. So, now that I'm done walking in that way, the invitation is now to figure out how to keep listening without the sign on my back. You know, how to do it here with you. That's the invitation each of us has. How can we show up to each other? How can we listen? So there's much more to be said on this, and I hope to come back in the fall and continue the conversation. But for now, does anyone have any questions? Yes?
I'm just wondering, do you keep like a journal while you were walking, right? The stories down and
The question was, did I take a journal and how did I record some of these stories? Yes, I had a journal, and I would write down the stories and the details of what things looked like and what they smell like, to just document that. And I also recorded 85 hours worth of interviews with people. You know, if I was sitting with someone and it felt like, you know, they were into it and felt safe and stuff, I'd say, hey, do you want to record a conversation? And I was afraid that people would get suspicious or be like, hell no. But very, very few people, hardly any, said no. Most people were open to it. And what I found was that the recorder became a way of going deeper into someone's heart and mind, because it gave me the opportunity to ask questions that might not be possible in a normal conversation. Yeah. Yes?
when you first went on the walk, did you know that you were going to be writing a book before you went on the walk, or did it kind of hit you afterwards, like, I'm going to write a book?
The question was, did I know I was going to write a book when I first set out? I knew I was a writer, or wanted to be, and I knew that writing was a way of navigating reality for me and understanding it. And so I knew there was a possibility that might happen. But as I said before, I was also open to the possibility that maybe this walk would only be a couple days, in which case it would make for a really good blog post, you know, and equally valuable, you know. And as the days and weeks and months went by, and as these stories continued to happen, it became evident that it would make a pretty phenomenal book if I ever showed up to the task of trying to bring that into being. And then slowly, it became obvious that I did want to try. And so the book here is my best attempt at putting what happened to me and to the people who were involved in the experience into words. My best shot. Yes?
Have you stayed connected with any of the people that you interviewed or met?
Have I stayed connected with any of the people I interviewed or met? Yes. Yes, I have. I'm in touch with many of them, speak with some of them on the phone. Was able to mail the book to some of them who are in it, you know. Yeah. Yes?
Because it was such a long trip, did you ever struggle with morale or have low points? Just because, although you were listening, I'm sure there were moments where you were doing a lot of walking alone. Did that ever struggle?
Over the course of the journey, was it ever a struggle? You know, there was a lot of aloneness, and did I ever find it hard? Were there low points? Of course not. No. Yes. Emphatically yes. Most of it was a struggle. I mean, imagine walking 25 miles each day. What would that feel like to your body? Painful. And there was a way in which that physical pain opened me up to some of the emotional pain from my past. I spent more time crying on the road in that 11-month period than I had in all the years of my life that came before combined. Pain that needed to be felt and expressed. Pain from my parents' divorce. Pain from getting torn from all these communities. It's pain. The pain of being human that each of us is subject to. And there was healing in that. There was healing in opening myself to that. I didn't know that's what would happen. That's what would happen. But what I found in that solitude was an ability to feel things that had been begging to be felt for years, and that couldn't be felt. In all the parties I went to at college. You know what I mean? Or even in the classroom. It's a little headier and there's a way in which spending a night underneath a bridge alone, thousands of miles from home, has a way of inviting you into the fact of your tenderness, your vulnerability, the beautiful tears. Yes.
In your commitment to listening, did people listen to you? Were you heard?
In my commitment to listening, were people listening to me? Was I heard? I have come to believe that listening is a rare quality, an endangered skill. And there were times when I felt deeply seen and listened to, but those were rare. And that continues, actually. Now that I know what's possible with this practice, the practice of listening, and how important it is just to me and my own well-being and the well-being of my world and my community, I've attracted to myself and I've been drawn to people who know how to do it. And so that is in my life now. But it's a rare thing to find someone who has that sincerity and humility, and to recognize that you may know something that I don't. And it's called your life. It's called your experiences, the experiential information that is wisdom coming through you uniquely. And bringing that kind of exquisite attention, that committed, loyal attention to another is a rare and precious gift. And I was learning how to do it on the road. It wasn't something I knew how to do when I started. Maybe I had inclinations and suspicions about how it might happen. But I had to learn it again and again and again, day after day after day. And it's something I'm still learning. So the answer is both yes and no. Yes and no. And I also find myself in this interesting, ironic position now, having spent a year as the listener. And now here I am up here talking about listening, being listened to. Maybe or maybe not, I don't know. So, one more question. Who's going to bring us home? My man in front.
Was this something that you always wanted to do, or was it just like thought of?
Great question. Was this something you always wanted to do, or was it something that just popped out at the end of my college days? It began to crystallize in the last year of college because I was approaching the precipice of graduation where I wouldn't have school or any structure to continue sort of like taking me along. It was going to be a blankness, and it was going to be, okay, what do you want to do with this now? So it began to crystallize because the urgency of like, well, what would I do? What am I going to do? Who am I? I've been given this one precious life. What am I going to do with it? began to crystallize at the end of college, but it was in gestation deeply in high school and even before. Apparently when I was 9, my mom told me this, when I was 9 years old, I guess I told my mom, "Hey Mom, if you ever wake up and I'm gone, don't worry, I'm just out walking." Little did she know, one day. So these things have a way of working their way into our hearts and minds, our destiny, our walk, the thing that you alone were born for, the thing that only you can bring into the world, and beginning to take that seriously. Take seriously the idea that, well, I've been given something, I've been entrusted with something that only I can live. And it's going to be a small, teensy, tiny little contribution to this vast universe. But it's imperative. It's needed, deeply needed. Your voice, your perspective, your gifts, your thoughts and feelings and all of it. I had no idea how it would come into the world. It turned out to be this walk. But the walk was just the vehicle. The walk was just the way. It wasn't the thing itself. And so each one of us has our own unique way. Deeply needed. Yeah, thank you for your question. And thank you all for listening and walking, and enjoy the summer and read the book, or don't. And I'll be back in the fall to hear how it all went and continue the conversation.